to our lecture and classmates. Today, our group will present on Title 2 under Topic 2, which is the emergence of early private higher education (IPTS) in the 1980s. Today, Malaysia has hundreds of public universities and colleges. But how did this booming industry start? It began in the 1980s as a direct response to overcoming into public universities and strict government policy. Let's look at how the private sector stepped into the revolutionizing higher learning in Malaysia. Let's go! To understand the rise of IPTS, we must look at the situation in the late 1970s and the early 1980s. At that time, Malaysia only had a public university such as Universiti Malaya, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia and Universiti Sains Malaysia. The country's economy was growing rapidly and thousands of high school leavers wanted a degree. However, public university didn't have enough space. So, as a result, thousands of qualified students were turned away simply because of shortage of campus spaces. This is creating a massive educational crisis. Next. Another major factor was the introduction of new economic policy, or we call it as NEP, in the 1970s. To balance the racial equity, the government introduced a quota system for entry in public universities. While this expanded opportunity for Bumiputra students, it significantly limited the number of seats available for non-Bumiputra students. So, as a result, families had to look outside the government system to find alternative pathways for higher education, paving the way for private entrepreneurs to fill the gap. Next. Initially, families who could afford it sent their children overseas to the UK, Australia or India. However, in the mid-1980s, Malaysia hit an economic recession. At the same time, foreign universities drastically increased their tuition fees for international students. So, sending a child abroad became impossibly expensive for the average Malaysian middle class family. There was an urgent, desperate need for a solution that provided a Western standard degrees but at affordable cost, right here on Malaysian soil. Next. This economic pressure led to the birth of the first private college in the 1980s. Institutions like Stanford College, BINTI College, Taylor College, and Sunway College, it began as a small, private shops lot or modest campuses. They didn't have the power to gain their own degree yet, so they operated as preparatory centers. They offer pre-university courses like A-levels or Australian matriculation, giving the local student the qualification needed to study further. Next. To make degree affordable, this early private college invented a brilliant accreditation model. We call it as a twinning program or 2+1 system. Under this model, a student will study for 2 years in the private college in Malaysia and then spend their final year at the partner university in the UK or Australia. For information, the degree was awarded by the foreign university, but the students saved millions of ringgits in living costs and tuition. As a result, this innovation democratized higher education for Malaysian middle class. Next. While public universities were transitioning entirely to Bahasa Melayu, this early private college chose to operate completely in English. This was a strategic business and educational move. By teaching in English, they made seamlessly for students to transfer to foreign university. It also made the private college graduates highly attractive to multinational corporations. And and the private sector which were booming in Malaysia during the late 1980s. Next, initially, the government viewed this private college with suspicion because they operated outside the national curriculum guidelines. However, in the late 1980s, the government realized that IPTS were actually helping the country. They stopped millions of dollars from flowing out of the country in foreign country and keep local talent at home. As a result, the government began to see the private college not as a competitor but a vital partner in transforming Malaysia into an industrialized nation. Next, the success of the 1980s private college boom eventually forced a complete overhaul of Malaysia's law. In 1996, the government passed the Private Higher Educational Institution Act, or we call it as Act 555. This law officially legalized and regulated private college, allowing them to upgrade into full universities and grant their own degrees. It also established quality control bodies that later became the MQA. We call it as Malaysian Qualification Agency, ensuring private degrees met strict national standards. Next, in conclusion, the emergence of private higher education in the 1980s was a direct response to socio-economic pressure and public university limitation. Through innovations like twinning program, this early private college transformed Malaysia from a nation facing on education shortage into a thriving regional hub for higher learning. As semester 1 student, this history shows us how private enterprise can adapt to shape national development. Thank you for listening and we welcome your questions. Bye!